you said Trump isn't the only one who might be looking to start a conflict to change the headline. Pakistan has two challenges. I mean, apart from a crumbling economy, two immediate narrative challenges. One is the situation in Baluchistan, and one is what is happening with Imran Khan. The fact is that Imran Khan supporters have drummed up a fair bit of noise over the fact that he may be killed in prison. You've seen cricketing greats now, greats from all over the world speak up in his support. And in Baluchistan, we've all seen the video of a captured Pakistani soldier begging the Pakistan army to not disown him, something the army in Pakistan is known to do. We've seen it from Kargil, to not even own their own men. Do you believe that their conflict with Afghanistan is linked to these two developments?
Not. See, Imran Khan is more of a personal kind of a conflict. It's a political and personal conflict. Personal in the sense that politics in Pakistan has now become personal animosity. It's between Asim Munir and Imran Khan. It's between the Sharifs and Imran Khan. And no quarter is given. And there is none of those old social graces which used to, not that in Pakistan there were ever those social graces, because I remember in the 90s how Benazir Bhutto and Nawaz Sharif used to deal with each other. Nawaz Sharif is now taking a holier than thou attitude, but he would unleash, his dogs of war, foul-mouthed people like Sheikh Rashid and others against Benazir Bhutto.
Yeah.
And they would make sexual innuendos and all kinds of other things against her. And then, Benazir imprisoned his father, did all kinds of other things against them. So there has always been, at one point of time we used to see in Haryana politics, that the moment you win the election, the first thing you do was that you put your rival into jail, because it was not the governor swearing you in that stamped your authority. It was putting your rival in jail that stamped your authority. So that same thing happens in Pakistan, right? So there is that culture out there, but now it's become even more vicious. So that is at a political, personal kind of politics, what is happening with Imran Khan. But the only problem is that if the Sharifs had some degree of popularity and the army was popular, they could carry this thing through. But the problem is that they do not have, the popular approval. So if they want to take any kind of tough measures, they simply do not have the public support behind them. Forget about what, all these jokers on Pakistani television try and drum up support. That is not what the reality is. And one indication of how angry people are is, if you have followed this story about the princess of Pakistan, the queen bee of Pakistan, Maryam Nawaz Sharif, buying this really nice, swanky, personal, jet for herself so that she can place to play. In a country where it's one of the few countries in the world where poverty has risen, right? It's one of the few countries in the world where unemployment is, by official numbers, 7%, but independent economists in Pakistan have calculated it at over 22%. Okay? 22% unemployment. Companies are closing down, they're shutting shop and leaving, factories are closing down. In a country like that, where economic distress levels have reached sky-high levels, you are so utterly tone deaf to what people are saying that you go and buy a jet for yourself, and then you have these really clownish women who surround Maryam Nawaz Sharif who say, this is part of an airline which we are starting. Have you heard of any airline which has executive jets? I'd love to know one which charges me Indigo fares for an executive jet. But the point is that, this is the kind of approach which they have. So this is the political side of it. But then you come down to Balochistan, where the standard response of the Punjabi, colonized mind is that, or the imperial mind, not the colonized mind, it's the imperial mind, is that Balochistan is a colony and how dare they stand up against us, and that, if force has not worked, we will use more force, and then more force. We will demolish houses, we will disappear people, we will catch hold of 60, 70-year-old women and disappear them. We will torture them. We will use families to blackmail people. All kinds of things are being happening in Balochistan. Okay. And if they think, and they've been doing this for 25 years now, and what has happened is that the resistance in Balochistan and the anger in Balochistan and the alienation of the Baloch people has only increased. It has reached a point where I don't think, unless you are a quisling like this guy Sarfaraz Bukti and some of these other fellows who are members of death squads and who have blood of the Baloch on their hands, unless you are one of those characters who get their money from the Pakistan army and fat contracts to loot the place, there is hardly a Baloch who stands by the Pakistani state anymore. The complete alienation out there. So, and the response of the Punjabi elite in Lahore is beat them more, butcher them, kill them, bomb them, do whatever you need to do. Basically exterminate the Baloch to solve the Baloch problem. Now, okay, maybe you can do it in Balochistan. You've tried it, at least in the past, it hasn't worked. You can try again. But then you come to KP. Out there, again, the same approach is being followed. There is no popular, when Barkha, when last time the operations were taking place, when the military would carry out these scorched earth operations to eliminate the TTP characters, and I'm not talking about the 2013, 2014, the Zarbe-Azb operations and the subsequent operations. At that point of time, there was popular support. In Swat, for example, something like, I think, 2.5 million, maybe 3 million people, about 25, 30 lakh people, actually vacated that entire area and came out so that the army could go in and carry out operations. And the idea was that the army will clean it up and, peace will reign. Now, you've tried those kind of operations and they haven't worked. And you want people to constantly give up their homes, come out so that you can carry out operations. And then you hobnob with the terrorists, you give them a free pass. About a year back or 2 years back, the police guys started protesting in southern KP. They said, we refuse to participate. There was a police strike. And why were the cops striking? Because they said, we catch hold of terrorists, and then the ISI guys come and the army guys come and say, these are our people, let them go. So there was a lot of resentment within the police that what the hell are you trying to do out here? So, these double games, which, these guys think hum bahut chalak hain, we're very clever. Most of the Fauji's, the problem with them is that, they're basically high school pass characters. Yeah. They haven't learned how, human psychology works, how you deal with people. Politicians, you can abuse them as much as you want, but they have some idea of how to take people along with them. Okay. The generals don't. They have absolutely, they think they can, wave their stick around and everything will happen. And it doesn't happen like that. You don't have parade ground solutions in politics. You have parade ground solutions only on the parade ground. So the problem for them is going to be that they are reaching a point where they're alienating the people. If they want to carry out operations, there is very strong resistance. The people are not ready to vacate their houses. The army does not have the ability to go in and do the kind of operations that the Indian army has managed to do in many of these hotspots, and try and ensure that you don't use excessive force. But these guys go and bomb, they use helicopter gunships, they use tanks, artillery, all kinds of things. Now, with Afghanistan being targeted, all that you need is for the Afghan government out there to say, okay, fine, we are now in a completely hostile situation with the Pakistanis, and there are no rules of the game. And then what are the Pakistanis going to do? Are they going to continue bombing the Afghans? How well did it work for the Americans? One. Second, if they bomb the Afghans, then the Afghans will feel free to, completely open up the floodgates of all these characters to go and hit Pakistan and give them safe sanctuary. So does the Pakistan army then go into Afghanistan? Can it manage that with the kind of economy it has? and they are already accusing their friends and allies and partners in the Middle East, countries like the UAE, countries like Qatar, are now being blamed for what is happening inside Pakistan. So anybody who does not necessarily agree with Pakistan, except for that idiot Erdogan, uh, everybody who does not agree with Pakistan is labeled an enemy. And anybody who uh, gives them some sage counsel is labeled an enemy. Anybody who says that, listen, you guys need to handle this situation in a different way than what you've been
Yeah.
handling, is declared an enemy. So UAE is a new enemy, Qatar is a new enemy, and as you go along, you will see other countries which are not ready to take sides being labeled the enemy. And
What do you think? What do you think? India has, of course, reacted sharply to Pakistan's bombing of Afghanistan. India has recently sort of begun its re-engagement process with the Taliban. We had a high-profile, highly contested visit by the Taliban leadership to India. What might India's cards be at this moment?
no, I think India will and India should, you know, continue its engagement with the Taliban to the extent that we can assist them to resist the bullying by Pakistan. So, for example, they've stopped taking all medicines from Pakistan. Most of those medicines were fake, anyways, which the Pakistanis were selling in Afghanistan. So, we have given them assurances that we will supply them with medicines, we will supply them with many of the other stuff. There'll be many things that we can't do. I think the Afghans are smart enough and sensible enough to understand that there are certain limits to what we can do. Can we do something for them militarily? I'm not so sure. I'm not even sure if anybody in the government will be inclined to doing that. But yeah, maybe some degree of economic support and political diplomatic support, I think we'll be ready to do. Again, Barkha, I think it needs to be made very clear. That does not mean that we approve of everything that the Taliban stand for.